keep your eye on the ball. Got it? Most of us have heard this idea of keeping your eye on the ball. Perhaps in Little League, baseball, football, basketball. The idea of staying in the game, watching the ball, keeping your eye on the objective to score, to make the winning goal, is something that those of us that have played sports have heard at some point, one or another, by one of our coaches or mentors. My name is Jacob Adams. I'm a fitness and leadership coach, and I help people just like you get to the next level. Have you ever had to pick up the pieces and make the next move in your business or relationship, in your fitness program, even though you are not quite satisfied where you want to be? Perhaps you feel a little overweight, or you've gained some inches around the waist when you've already done great and now you've relapsed a little bit, and now you're dealing with some emotions of regret, remorse, frustration with yourself. Maybe in your family or relationship life, you started off so great in a relationship and then finding yourself in a disposition or a dissonance between your lover or friend or your romantic partner. You say, well, you know what, it started out great, but now it's getting a little rocky and maybe even on the cusp of a separation. I have found myself in almost every one of those situations, whether it's sports, on the golf field when my golf ball went out into the woods, in relationships that started out with complete harmony. I found myself in the most challenging of situations to get back in the game or resolve or save the game, you could say, of those experiences. My grandpa and my dad both taught me how to play baseball. My grandpa didn't really speak to me very much. He was in the war, World War II, and in World War II, and he kind of kept to himself. I sometimes now think it was PTSD that he was suffering from, and I don't say that lightly. I look back and now examine the characteristics and some of the temperaments that he and my father expressed, and I think that PTSD was at the helm of this. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that they showed me how to play baseball and to keep my eye on the ball. As we swung, as he taught me to swing, one of the key ideas was keep your eye on the ball. And I remember as a little kid really honing in on that. Just keep your eye on the ball. Here's what he told me. And, the reality is that helped me develop as a little athlete. And even to this day, I think some of the ideas of cueing into the synchronicities of small muscular movements essential to Olympic lifting become very handy. And while keeping your eye on the ball is an idea that we all can embrace, playing the ball, playing it where it lays, is, I see now, just as important. I think back to the relationship with my father, how it wasn't always as good as it is now. As a teenager, there was argument between him and I, and there was situations that led to altercations of words exchange or things that were hard to process between him and I. And I'll leave it at that. It's significantly more severe than that. It's hard to talk about. And today as I left his house, I remember his place. I don't get to see him as much as I would like to, or I don't make as much time as I would like to, you could say. And as I left his house today, I felt a sense of birth and growth between a better relationship between him and I. Now, to get to that place, there's been, a 10-year gap where we didn't talk much at all. There's been, the occasional phone call once a year or on holidays. There's been holiday after holiday where it was just once a year, stuff like that. And then slowly through time, with commitment, I reached out to him a little bit more and a little bit more, and just looking to let him know that I am his son and I do love him. And a lot of that came from playing the situation where it was. In other words, it couldn't get to here if I didn't just face what needed to be faced and face some of those very hard to process emotions, if I didn't just work from it where it was. And I'm very grateful that, we got to talk. He even mentioned that he's seen some of my videos and he's given me some feedback and critiques, and I'm like, thanks, Dad. He's like, I don't want to offend you. I was like, you're not offending me. It's just you being honest. That's totally okay. And there's been other situations. It's not just family relationships. There's been in my own body, for example, like there's been times where I hit peaks, and then sometimes I regress because of lack of discipline, or maybe I focus too much on work and not enough on my diet, and I regress a little bit. And that's sometimes hard to process, because then there's a moment where you have to walk all the way back just to get to where you are kind of close to where you were before you begin climbing out of the hole or the pit that you're in, right? That I'm in, or that's the typical pattern there. So that's one example, right? And so today, what I've realized over time is that you can't play it where it's not. You have to play it where it is. That's the big idea there. Like, you have to play it where it is. And usually we get caught up in our mind, in our ideas, and our emotions, and our mental states, and we fail to connect with the game sometimes by doubting ourselves and thinking things. And our mind is very interesting like that. It kind of invites us down this journey of doubts, insecurities. Like, am I playing good enough, or am I doing my best? And the thought itself almost prevents us from playing as well as we could. So we have to learn to play it where it lays. And so the concept, again, is super simple: to play it where it lays. Keep your eye on the ball, right? Number one. But also play it where it lays. And the two ideas doesn't, of course, mean just a ball. It could mean picking up the phone and starting to rekindle a friendship or relationship. It could be to put your effort back into your studies the way you need to. You got to pick up that book and begin reading right where it is. For me, one of the things that I learned this year is that, I was enjoying making those more visceral videos with the video moving backgrounds behind me, and they just became so time consuming that I wasn't making the videos. So instead of focusing on making things look real good or perfect, I wanted to get the message out. And so I committed to this, right? Getting in front of the camera and just getting to work, getting right down into it. Now, naturally, there's critics and people that will say, hey, it's not good enough, or it could be better, and I would do it this way, and I would do it this way. And sometimes these same people are the people that don't do any kind of videos, right? By the same token, people that give you advice sometimes don't have any kind of experience in the area they're giving you advice in. And that's a problem, isn't it? Because, all this sideline coaching with not enough time on the field, right? I can tell you firsthand, I've played the ball where it lays in almost every area of my life. So if I tell you, hey, what I discovered is to play it where it lays, it's really difficult to escape that reality. And, this is not something that is new. Playing the ball where it lays is something that we've all heard. Yet, I think that, if we are honest with ourselves, that sometimes we like to placate ourselves, or, overthink things, entertain ourselves with a movie, or going out or getting a drink, just to sort of avoid the inner hard work of playing it where it lays, improving the moment now, getting to work on it now. I could have said, hey, these videos aren't good enough, or I have a critic that says this, or it needs this. And, at the end of the day, that's not playing it where it lays. That's playing it where it's not. It's waiting for the ball to be where it won't be until you move it there. So what we're understanding as a society, those of us that are pretty much attuned to reality, is you just can't play it where it's not. You have to play it where it lays. And no amount of avoidance, no amount of entertainment, no amount of drink or marijuana or promiscuous activities or dancing or things. Nothing that we can avoid the pain with of growth is ever going to really help us long term. It could help us avoid something. Like, I'd like to catch a movie tonight. It'd be nice. It's a Sunday night. I'd like to catch one tonight, but if I just don't have the time, and the more important stuff is to get these videos out and do some work on my computer, if that's the more important thing, I should do that. I should ensure that that gets done versus trying to avoid and escape into a movie. Here's some ideas for you to think about when you're wanting to play it where it lays. Focus and dial in on the next move with intention. Focus and dial in on the next move with intention. So what I'm getting at with that is that the next move for me is to make this video of playing it where it lays. In other words, the idea is not hard to understand. Think about the best thing to do. Now do it. Play it where it lays. But to bring intention, dial in and do it to the best of your ability, that isn't a given. You could do things half-heartedly. You can make excuses and not do it. But you got to make the move. You got to make the play. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to talk to the person. You've got to get into the gym. You've got to do the work and just let go of any kind of baggage or emotions that get in the way of that, and put more of the emotions into moving forward. That's what that means. Focus, dial in with intention, and make the next move. This is something I learned from Garrett J. White. It's test, feedback, and innovate. The first thing is to test, next is to innovate, next is to get feedback and innovate. When I first started this channel, one of the things that we wanted is obviously acceptance and growth and overall to reach an audience. Now, that's taken longer than expected. And at the same time, there has been some growth. And what I've come to realize is that you can't necessarily say this is how this is going to work every time. You can only work from a place of creativity, a place of sincere art, trust, and vulnerability, and then the viewer, you, the audience, will give us feedback or not give us feedback, and then we can grow from there. I can grow from there, right? And so that's the idea there, that there is no set way. We must first test, get feedback, and then innovate and keep growing. Okay, what does that have to do with play it where it lays? Make the move. Did it improve? No. Get some feedback, and then pivot. Do whatever you got to do to innovate. Okay, and this is seen in all areas of life, whether it's in meditation even. I'm barely now dialing in deeper and deeper into the lessons of meditation. After 6 years of 6 years, that's crazy. Like, it feels crazy. And yet, that's just the truth, and I'm working with that truth. It feels overwhelming to know that, man, 6 years and I'm dialing in barely to this extent, but I know how much it took, how much work it took to get here. And it's like, well, shit, now I know that anyone to get to this understanding has got to be pretty committed. So, okay, realize you have no other option but to quit. In other words, you must play it where it lays. You have no other option. You're like, well, why go through the trouble of playing where it lays? Well, you have no other option. It's either this or quit. That's it. Play where it lays in some area of your life, whether it's your business, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your fitness, your relationship with God. Play it where it lays, or quit. That's your option. So I'd say just move forward and dial in and get moving with as much passion and emotion. The option is to quit, and everyone, that's a pretty understood, accepted idea not to do that. Okay? Yes, you have challenges. Plan to play in spite of them to the best of your ability. Okay? Of course, you have challenges. Of course, you do. One of my challenges for this video is going to be, did I convey my message? Was it heard? Was it understood? I don't know. Was it well accepted? I don't know. Will I play my life? Will I make my best move? I don't know. There's certain things I don't know. All I can do is move forward, play the best of my ability, get feedback, innovate, keep going. Like, it's a very vulnerable reality. It's so vulnerable. Okay? Embrace critics and downswings. You're not always going to be on an upswing. There's going to be moments where you're in the red, where you're down 1 point. And I was watching the Cowboys game today, and they were behind, like, significantly. They probably lost. This is $1 million team, multi-million dollar team in franchise, okay? And they're behind, right? Embrace the critics, embrace the downswing, and keep going. Push forward, okay? Ask yourself, what emotions do you want to amplify? What emotions do you want to amplify? You know, I'm a pretty zoned in person into how I'm feeling, my states, my mental states. I went to do cardio today just for 20 minutes just because I wanted to change my mental state. The fat burning and everything, that's fine, but I wanted my mental state to change. So what emotions do you want to expand, and what emotions do you want to avoid? And then dial in on how to magnify the ones that you want to create. Dial in on how you're going to create the ones that you really want to. Okay? Dial in. Understand that some people swing back into the woods versus out of. In other words, in golf, this is a metaphor again, that some people might even swing back into the woods versus out of. So they hit the ball close to the woods. They play the ball where it lays, and they don't even manage to get their thing. And I'm guilty of this. These people may not even manage to aim in the right direction of the hole or the target. They move in another. They go deeper into the woods, right, making it even harder to get out of it. So that's the thing. Some people do that, and that's a common thing, way we shoot ourselves in the foot. At the end of the day, we're gonna have to, get back in gear, push forward, pray again, get the disciplines again, and continue moving forward. There's really no other way. Just play it where it lays, okay? The most common counter to this is just to want to avoid playing it where it lays, okay? Hopefully, you've seen enough ideas to get moving in the right direction, dial in. This is Jacob Adams. I'd love to hear your comments, your ideas, and what you're doing to play it where it lays. Get some time for a sneeze, it looks like. All right. That's how you know there's no editing here. It's just one take. We'll see you next time. Bye.